The Prisoner fans were at the stage door every day. They were die hard. But Annie was glorious.
Yeah. And that's the thing with Prisoner, it's still got a huge
in
following.
the UK, it's
massive.
Like, I would get more queued up. Like, I'd have, especially ushers, wherever I worked, would come up and go, "You in Prisoner?" Like, it was, you know, even more than, you know, like, did you work with Madonna, or you've been in this, you know, whatever.
Prisoner.
No, Prisoner.
Wow.
100%.
Hey there, it's Connor Muller and welcome to Let's Chat Showbiz. This podcast is all about Australian showbiz. We're talking the glitz, the glam, the tough times and everything in between. Let's get this show on the road. Today's guest has been working in theatre, television, film and cabaret for over 40 years. She's an icon of Australian showbiz. We're thrilled to welcome Sally Bourne.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good, how are you, Sally?
I'm very, very well, thank you.
Good. Now, you're currently starring in Sister Act, which what a fun production. Tell me about the role that you play in the show.
I play Sister Mary Martin of Tours, who she's, I think, as Mary Laz Rhonda's intro of me is, she's in her own little world, which is great because after many years in musicals and having jumped around the stage a lot, I actually can just stand on stage and do this. And I do.
You do?
A lot. Yeah. It's pretty good.
Yeah. Now, you're working alongside people like Genevieve and Rhonda Birchmore and Casey Donovan. How do you find working with those guys?
Oh, they're amazing. I mean, look, it's one of the really great things about the show is that it's, you know, obviously it's pretty much female-led.
Yes.
The guys are great, but there's 4 women over the age of 50, which is pretty rare. Of course, you know, I really admire Jen my whole life. I've never met her before. I've met Rhonda quite a few times. We've done a couple of gigs where we were both on the bill and stuff like that. But it's actually just overall a really, really nice group of people, which is great because, you know, sometimes there's a bit of, I used to joke and say, oh, you know, this company's great. You know, there's not that one person who's a bit of a pain in the ass. And then I'd go, oh, maybe it's me. Shit. Oops.
Now, is it true that in one of the performances of Sister Act, you were left hanging from the ceiling?
It is true.
Tell me.
So it's not in the show anymore, but in Sydney and Melbourne there was a flying bit.
Because that's another thing, is it wasn't, they didn't do it in Adelaide.
No. It was sort of, I don't know all the reasons behind it. It's, you know, like it's a very full-on safety issue. So I was in, you know, like a full body harness with a little carabiner on my shoulder, which ran down to another thing that clipped me onto the rope. Yeah. And then it goes, you know, 1, 2, 3, and then got shot up in the air. And this one show, and funnily enough, my daughter was in the audience on the day. We did bong, 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 and up I went. And I'm supposed to be up for, I think it was like 3 seconds or 4 seconds or something before you start coming down. And you sort of up there and then you go, oh, I should be coming down now. And all the girls are down there going, Sister Mary Martin of Tours, come down, come down. I'm like, I can't. And then the stage manager came on and got all the girls off. And the audience didn't know what was happening, but I was facing upstage, so the audience just saw my back.
Oh.
And I was pissing myself laughing, like it was so funny. Because once you're in the harness, you just sit in the harness, and it's, you know, I wasn't in any danger. I knew I wasn't going to fall or anything. But then as the screams started coming in from behind me, I knew they were going to bring the curtain in because they were in the wings. All of a sudden there were ladders and all sorts. And so I sort of did this with my legs. So I faced the audience. And then as the curtain came in, I was doing like a thing and they were all laughing. But the funniest part of it, and then the curtain came in, and literally when the curtain came in, it was just a glitch in the mechanism. I flew down. But this woman was next to my daughter, not knowing that it's my daughter. And she said, I don't know what's going on. And Alice goes, neither do I, but that's my mum. Classic.
What are the chances, though, of having your daughter in the audience at the same night?
And Rhonda was funny because we were like, we're going to have to start from the spot where you would have come down. And so when the curtain went out, I was obviously on the ground. Rhonda was like, and there was a huge round of applause. People love seeing that sort of stuff.
They do love seeing
it's like I was there that night when she got stuck up in the sky.
Obviously, you've done a lot of on-stage theatre work. Have you ever had anything else that's gone wrong that you can think of?
Oh, gosh. Yeah, I mean, I did Jesus Christ Superstar in London at the Lyceum Theatre. And poor old Steve, who played Jesus, was a bit ill once, and he did a bit of a ciggy burp while he was on the cross like that. It's terrible because you can't wipe it. You can't. Been in Les Mis quite a few times here and in the UK, and often, one of the barricades wouldn't come on, that sort of thing. When I was doing Moonshadow, which was the Cat Stevens musical, which was on at the Princess Theatre in Melbourne, I used to sing, my song was Wild World, which is one of his most famous songs. And so there were two little revolves, and I'd revolve on and do, if you want to leave, take good care, the mother.
Yeah.
And one day the revolve didn't work, and so I just sort of like shuffle. That's it's usually little technical things, but that's
People love to see you uncomfortable on stage. It's great. Yeah. Now with Sister Act, you also got to perform at Carols by Candlelight with the Sister Act cast. I did, but it wasn't the first time you performed. Is that right?
The last time I performed was 46 years ago when I was the original Australian Annie in, as I always say, 1923. Yeah, I did it when I was 12 with John Farnham, and the irony was I was singing "The Sun Will Come Out Tomorrow" and it was torrentially raining, and there's one shot where there's a shot from behind me, looking out into the audience, and it's just like cracks of lightning and stuff. So "The Sun Will Come Out Tomorrow" was pertinent and perhaps not true.
Now, talking of Annie, you were the age of 12 when you got that role.
Yeah.
What was that like?
Okay, so my dad was quite a well-known actor in Australia. My dad was an actor-singer. My mum was a dancer. So, obviously they forced me into it. They didn't really. It was huge. It was the biggest musical ever to be staged in Australia. It was, an enormous thing for me. I found out on the Monday, and I was a normal school kid. And then on the Thursday night, I was singing on the Don Lane show, which had a viewership of, 3 million people. Yeah. And that was like, they said, "You're going to sing on the Don Lane show on Thursday night." And I was like, "What? No, me. Oops, sorry, don't do that to the mic. That was very bad. Sorry." So professional.
How did you cope with, being a 12-year-old? You would have had some sort of fame. How do you cope with that as a 12-year-old?
I was an asshole. No, I wasn't. I don't know. I think because Dad was an actor and I grew up around a lot of well-known people, like showbiz parties and stuff where all the parents got drunk and we all slept on a bed because it was the 70s. No babysitters. They just take you with them and you just have to cope. So I sort of didn't have that I wasn't starstruck by people. Yeah. But it was enormous, and it was a long time ago though. Can't remember my name half the time, darling, let alone no, I'm joking.
Now, you mentioned your father there, the late Ernie Bourne.
Correct.
So did he have quite a big impact on your career, do you think? Or?
Yeah, Dad was, it's funny because at the backstage where the dressing rooms are at the festival centre here, there's just massive pictures of every show. And in the green room, there's a big poster of Anything Goes, and there's my dad right in the middle of it.
Wow.
Yeah, he was extremely funny. And I do actually find myself Dad did a lot of theatre restaurant and vaudeville and very physical comedy. And so sometimes when I'm doing my Mary Martin of tours, because she's hearing voices in her head. Yes. I come off stage and I go, I have turned into my father. Yeah. So yes, he did.
And if your father could see where you've come now, what do you think he'd say?
Oh, it's funny because the ABC did a documentary on me when I was 12.
Oh, wow.
Which I'll send you the link.
Yeah, please.
And at the end of it is him coming into my dressing room on the opening night of Annie. And there's all reporters in my dressing room and stuff, and they're all trying to ask him questions. How was it for you? What did you think? And he was like, I'm so nervous and stuff. And then there's this 1 minute where he just sort of fobs off the reporters and he just looks at me and he goes, "God bless you, darling, you did a terrific job." And that's the end freeze of the documentary. And he was always very proud. He'd probably give me a few notes though. Every now and then he'd be like, that bit, maybe if you try this, But that's what working actors do. That's what Emma and I do in the dressing room all the time, still. And that's part of the joy of doing 8 shows a week is, constantly going, "Oh, that line, I think I would do it like this tonight," and then coming off going, "No, that didn't work." Or saying, sort of keep meandering your performance. And I think that's something that Dad really taught me, that you never stop learning.
Yeah. Now, you've done quite a bit of theatre in your career. In 1987, you did the musical Nine.
I did.
Which had the likes of Nancy Hayes, Tina Arena, Caroline Gilmer, Gerda Nicholson, Maria Mercedes.
Maria Mercedes.
Yeah.
I mean, 21 women and one man. And probably it's an incredible piece, Nine, the musical. The movie, they took out a few things and they added a few things. I wasn't as thrilled with it. But yeah, again, like being in Sister Act, being with a huge amount of fantastic women.
Which doesn't happen often.
No, well, I mean, the Bechdel test or whatever it is, which is, whether a woman exists without being there because of a man or whatever, she has her own life. Nine is sort of about these women in this man's life, in Guido Contini's life, but he's the can I say fuck up?
Yeah, you definitely
He's the fuck up. Too bad, I already did. Can I say fuck up? Can I? All right, I shall. He's the one who's having the nervous breakdown. So the women are very strong. So yeah, it's nice. Nice being in good chick, chick musicals. I like it.
I have to ask, do you have any memories of working with Gerda Nicholson, late Gerda Nicholson?
Oh, because I forget you're the biggest Prisoner fan in the universe. Sorry. Is that not known?
No,
is that a secret? I don't think so.
Oh, God. Yes.
Gerda was a very, very lovely, sweet, kind, nice woman, as you would expect. But as with most actors, we can have a bit of a filthy mouth. She's cheeky.
Oh, really?
No! No, we're all pure as the driven slush. That's what we are. No, she was gorgeous. She was great.
In 2010, you were in The Boy from Oz. Tell me about that.
I was. Boy from Oz was, so the production company in Melbourne, which was run by Jeannie Pratt, they used to do 3 musicals every year, just sort of like 10 days rehearsal, and you play it for a week, which was great because it gave a lot of people work, even though it was short. And it also gave a lot of people who just graduated a chance to work. So I did, with the production company, I did Brigadoon with Nancy Hayes.
Yes.
Again. I did The Boy from Oz, which was directed by Nancy Hayes. And I did Damn Yankees, which Nancy Hayes had nothing to do with. Yeah, so, well, that was the thing, like I did Annie with Nancy. She was Lily.
Yeah.
And then I did, Nine with Nancy, and then moved to London and then came back and, 40 years later, we're on stage together in Brigadoon. Crazy, great, amazing.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned London there. You lived in London for quite some time.
I lived in London for 13 years. I did Les Mis at the Princess, and then when I was 25, I was like, I think I'm going to go move to London. And it's so crazy because often I go, oh, look, I'm not a very brave person. I don't really put myself out there. And my friends go, you moved to London when you were 25. So, okay. Yeah, I moved when I was 25. I thought I'd be there for about, I don't know, 5 years or something. But once I'd been there for 5 years, I had contacts and I was known and I was working and working and working. So it wasn't until I was doing Jerry Springer the Opera and as soon as I got pregnant, I was like, I want to have babies in Australia. I mean, a few years before that, me and my then partner had decided to move back here. I'm going up at the end of my sentences. And then as soon as I decided to do that, I got every job I went for.
Yeah, wow.
I booked everything and that's a really interesting thing when you sit in auditions now and you see someone come in and there's not that, please give me the job, please validate my life and explain to my parents that I've chosen the right career. There's none of that air about them. So obviously I was walking into auditions and going, hey, this is me, this is what I can do. Do you want me? And they were like, yep. I had 5 West End offers on the table at one point, 3 musicals and 2 plays. I was like, oh shit, I wish I'd known this earlier. Just don't go in with that air of desperation. But London was amazing. It was, like the opportunity to do like original musicals. I did The Beautiful Game, which was Andrew Lloyd Webber and Ben Elton. So, 12 weeks rehearsal, development. Jerry Springer the Opera was the same. I did Evita with Madonna, did the movie Evita. And like stuff and also you've got 10 musicals on in the one city at least. So, work-wise, it's when you're in the pool, there's a lot of work, whereas here it's sort of, we have a pretty good musical theatre. We've got always things coming, we've got Cats coming, we've got Back to the Future, we've got Beetlejuice. You know,
there's always more than
correct.
Yeah, and it's good because in Adelaide here we never used to really get. We used to get some things, but we didn't get everything in Adelaide.
No,
but now
you get everything.
Nearly everything comes here.
Yeah,
if it has a whole tour, we get it. If Perth get it, we get it. Like,
yeah.
So,
and I think the touring module now, the model, you know, like Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane, Adelaide, Perth, is it's just the way it is.
That's
really.
Right. Yeah.
Whereas I mean, Hamilton still sort of did that. Where in Sydney, come and see us.
Yeah.
But generally, I think it moves around.
Yeah. Now, moving on from theatre, you've done quite a bit of film and television work. You mentioned before Evita with Madonna.
Correct.
Tell me about that.
So I was doing Les Mis and everyone was auditioning for Evita and I loved Alan Parker. Like when I was a teenager, the movie Fame changed my life. I don't know if you've seen the movie, but you need to watch it. It's so great. It's, New York Theatre of School of Performing Arts, all the trials and tribulations of all the kids being actors. So I was a massive, massive fan of Alan Parker's and also the movie The Commitments, which he did as well, which is about an Irish singing band. And so I'm in, a tiny room in somewhere in London with a TV camera. He's sitting behind the desk and a monitor, singing Rainbow High, just like, wow, this is good, I said I wasn't starstruck. I've been starstruck a couple of times, and Alan Parker was one of them. And then they rang my agent and they said, they love you. They want you to play Madonna's maid in the film. You'll be going to Argentina, Budapest. It's a 6-month shoot, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, holy shit, I'm going to buy a house. So, you're penciled for the film. I was like, that's fantastic. And then they rang back a week later and they said they've taken the pencil off. And I was gutted.
Of course.
I was like, send them a pen, for God's sakes. And then the shoot went ahead and everything. I was doing Les Mis. And just out of the blue, and I think it might have been because, and actually being on set, the way that the extras look at Madonna and stuff, you get so sick of people just being like,
yeah,
And I think it must have been, I think maybe she might have said, look, maybe not extras, let's get performers or something, because I was doing Les Mis and they rang me, it was 5 months later, and they said, are you available on Tuesday to do a day as Madonna's maid? I was like, yeah, but then I had to go to company management because in the West End, everyone has a week off. There's a male and female have a week off, just in the year, you have a week's holiday.
Yeah.
So there was no coverage. So our gorgeous company manager got someone who'd been a swing the year before, and I had paid them. And so it was all good. But then that first day I was picked up outside my little trashy flat in Tottenham in a gold Jaguar. And driven to Pinewood Studios. Oh, no, it wasn't Pine. Yeah, it was a stately home. And there's all the trailers, the big trailers, and there's my trailer. Then there was Antonio Banderas' trailer. Then there was the makeup trailer, and then there was Alan Parker's trailer, and that was it. And then all the extras were somewhere else.
Yeah.
I sat in that, and people had said to me, movies are so boring. It's just sit around and wait, So I got there at 7:30 in the morning. Got into my little maid's outfit, went into makeup, and she literally gets this little powder and she goes, I was like, is that it? She said, yeah. I was like, so I'm going to be this big on movie screens, and I'm not. She went, if I see you with a mascara brush, I'm going to kill you. But it actually doesn't look like that. The lighting was good. Anyway, so I sat in the trailer from 7 a.m. till 4:30 in the afternoon. And then they called us to set. And no, this is it was like a dream, right? There were these two, this was a stately house. There were these two humongous doors, and behind the doors was a massive dining table. And they had Madonna's stand-in, or M, as everyone called it. So they had this big table. They were setting up the shot. I was waiting over here, didn't know what they wanted me to do, whether they were going to use me. And I was a massive Madonna fan. I was in my 20s in the 80s, so... And they said, all right, call Em onto set. And they said, Em's coming, traveling, da-da-da-da. And then just as someone came around the corner, these two big double doors closed like that. And the second AD come up to me and said, we're not going to need you today. I was like, someone's taking the piss. Someone is seriously taking the piss. And so I went back to my trailer and I was like, oh, okay, well, that's that then. First I get penciled, then I get to sit. It was like a performer's nightmare.
Someone was out to get you.
Someone was out to get me. And as I got changed and then I came out my trailer, and Alan Parker, who I didn't even think would know me, said, oh, I'm so sorry we didn't get to use you today. We might get you in for something else or whatever. Anyway, so then they rang my agent the next day. Am I going on too long?
No, absolutely not. No, please.
Then they rang my agent the next day and said, can she come in on Thursday? Went in on a Thursday, got into my maid's outfit, but this was at Pinewood. Went into the huge sound stage, and there's, the bed, her bed and all that. And there was like 4 director's chairs. And there were 2 high ones and 2 low ones. And there was me and 2 other girls who were playing. One was playing a nurse, one was playing a maid. I knew both of them. They were both in musical theatre.
Yeah.
So we go in. I jump up on the director's chair, and the second AD's walkie-talkie goes, get her out of Madonna's chair. I was like, fuck, I'm going to get fired. I was like, I can't.
You can't make that up.
I can't. This is not going well. This is not the job for me. Anyway, so then we were setting up the shot. She came in. She was tiny, really nice, but obviously just didn't want to. She really wanted that to be good in that job, So, and the woman so we were both holding her arm. I was holding her arm, then someone else was holding her arm. And she had a little negligee on, little fluffy slippers. And the other girl was just like, da, ba, da, ba, da, ba, da. And I wasn't going to say a word. I was like, I'm not there to be going, I've been a huge fan, So I just kept my mouth shut. And so I could see her getting a bit sick of it. And she sort of looked at me, and there's actually a photo of her like in the big Evita book looking at me like that. Yeah. And so she sort of looked at me and I said, oh, fucking hell, your feet are tiny. Her feet are like this big. And she just like went like that because I'm just talking.
Normally, yeah.
I said, fucking hell, your feet are tiny. She went, why, what size are you? I said, well, I'm a 10. And she said, well, I've got a friend and she's a 12. I said, did she used to be a man? And then we got on fine. So that's my Madonna story.
Yeah, right. Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
There you go. So it wasn't an easy.
It was a rough climb to the top, but I ended up doing like 3 or 4 days on it, which was amazing. It was great. But it is really tedious. You just stand for 6 hours and then you might shoot something for 30 seconds. I like film and television, but just, the through line of starting a show, telling that story to the end, rather than shooting something and then you're shooting something that was 3 weeks before and then you shoot, it's a different brain, really.
Yeah. Now, in 1981, you did the miniseries I Can Jump Puddles.
Oh, I did.
Tell me about that.
I Can Jump Puddles. Well, that was after Annie.
Yep.
And yeah, it was great. It was one of those things. They basically rang me and said, do I want to play the girlfriend or the sister? And I was like, well, what's the girlfriend in the book? She's famously got a bit of a potty mouth. She swears a lot. And I was like, I'll play that run. I was 13 and we shot, I wouldn't even know where, somewhere in Victoria in the driest possible place on earth. But yeah, no, that was really good. That was my first sort of TV thing, and it was a very famous novel and still out on DVD.
Yes.
Get your copies.
And how did you go, like, obviously you do that and then would you go back to school? Or people would go, oh my God, like old people just kind of don't really care.
I don't think.
You don't really.
Because when they did the Annie documentary on me, they shot a lot of stuff at school, and there were some people who weren't my friends, who were suddenly very good friends with me. And I think I got in trouble because I was like, "You're just hanging out with me because there's TV cameras here. Can you?" And then they really hated me. Yeah, I don't remember. It was funny when I did Prisoner. I remember my headmistress. His mum went to the headmistress and said she's got this role. This was the first when Myra went into prison.
Yep.
She's got this role, and she might need some days off school. And Miss Bowles, our headmistress, was all women who went to McGraw were going to be lawyers and doctors and professors and things. She was not happy. She said, I don't think it's appropriate, and I'm not going to let her off school and stuff. So Mum just wrote me sick notes. She was like, stuff that.
Yeah, exactly.
And then when it came out in assembly, 3 months later, it's, and we must congratulate Sally on her marvellous performance. I'm like,
wank, wank. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. No, it's not a proper profession.
Now, you mentioned there, Prisoner. Of course, you played Kay Desmond, the daughter of Murray Desmond.
Correct.
The late Anne Phelan. Memories of
her.
working with Anne Phelan?
Oh, God, she was a rat bag.
Yeah.
Fabulous.
Did you work with her after Prisoner at all?
No, but I did see her when I was in England. It was so funny because I was doing My Fair Lady. It was my first job, and we were touring the UK. And one time there must have been like whatever you would have called sort of Comic-Con back then, you know, the Prisoner fan club. And I was going to Stage Door one day, and there was like a ton of people at Stage Door. And Edward Fox, who played Henry Higgins in My Fair Lady, was quite well known because he was the lead in The Day of the Jackal, which was quite a well-known movie. I was like, oh, they must be here for him. And then all of a sudden they all turned and they're all Prisoner fans. They're there for me. And they rang me, the Prisoner for Cell Block H fan club, said, we're having a do this evening, come along. And Annie was there. And it was Maggie Kirkpatrick and a few other people, can't remember. But then the Prisoner fans were at the Stage Door every day. They were die hard. But Annie was glorious.
Yeah. And that's the thing with Prisoner, it's still got a huge
in the
following.
UK, it's
massive.
Like I would get more queued up. Like I'd have, especially ushers, wherever I worked, would come up and go, "Are you in Prisoner?" Like it was, you know, even more than, you know, like, did you work with Madonna or you've been in this, you know, whatever.
Prisoner.
No, Prisoner.
Wow.
100%.
And when you were in Prisoner, you did have quite some very full-on physical scenes as well.
Oh,
like
yeah, the slap.
Yeah, the slap and the
slap.
bedroom and the fighting. And
yeah, well, that was that because I was only in it, supposedly only in it for that, to be the catalyst for why she went to prison.
Yeah.
And then Annie got a play that she really wanted to do. And because of the shooting schedule, they needed to get her out of prison so they could shoot like 3 months worth or 2 months worth of stuff and keep the prisoners, you know. So they came up with the storyline that I did it again. Touch the mic again. I'm so sorry. Anyway.
You know, it's funny, like I think there's about 3 or 4 people who've done that so far. So
I do, you know.
Not the only one.
It's these get in the way. So sorry.
You're fine.
Excellent. What was I saying? Oh yeah, so they had to get her out. So they came up with the storyline that I was a heroin addict and that I would and she had to escape prison in order to help me dry out, blah 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 blah. So we did that. We filmed in Kangaroo Flats, which
that's what I was going to ask you, where they filmed those scenes.
It was like just after bushfire. It was so hot. Wow. And we shot in a house.
Actually in a house. In
a house. So that bedroom is like, you know, like cameramen here. And because of the way they shot it, you know, at one point, because I'm looking at the camera going, you know, it's really weird. I'm 17. You've got a cameraman between your legs. And you're like, shouting at the camera, you know. And the funny thing, like that heroin makeup took like 3 hours because I was like grey.
Yeah.
And I remember once like getting a taxi to my boyfriend's house because you got cab charges in those days. And I hadn't taken my makeup off and like being at the lights with people and they'd go, so I'm like, you know. Yeah, so the slap. So we had this big fight and I'm trying to get out and I'm like, you're killing me, you bastards. And she's like, her and Alan Hopgood are,
yes.
You know, holding me down and everything. And then I go, I hate you. I'm glad they put you away. And she slaps me and she goes, I'm going to slap you. Is that okay? And I was like, yeah, you can. That's fine, you know. She hit me so fucking hard that if you watch the footage, and I've watched it back, I can't move. Like I go, I'm glad they put you away. Slap, and I'm like this, and I go, I'm sorry, and and I can't get up because I'm like in so much shock. And then she's hugging me, and we're rocking, and they're like, oh, let's break for lunch, and we just stayed there hugging, and I'm like, it really, really hurt. You broke my jaw, bitch.
How times have changed nowadays.
Oh, God.
That just wouldn't happen. Like, just...
You could not do that.
Yeah. And
probably quite rightly.
Yes.
I was 17. But I was my naivety of going, yeah, you can slap me, that'll be fine.
And did you ever work with Alan Hopgood after that?
No. Because, I mean, that was when I was 17.
Yeah.
Then when I was 20, I did 9. And then straight after that, I did Les Mis. And then straight after Les Mis, I moved to London. So I missed a big chunk of sort of like when people talk about music in Australia in the 90s and TV shows, I have no idea.
Because you've missed, now your father, of course, was in Prisoner as well.
He was. He was
Mervyn Pringle.
He was the. Well, I think that was the third role he played, or was it the second? I think it was.
Oh, I don't know. I'm going to get killed by the Prisoner fans. I actually don't.
Yes, you revoke your membership immediately.
Happily, no.
I think it was.
He was a doctor with Lizzie Birdsworth.
That's right. He was a doctor. Yes, no, but he was also. It was 3 then because he was also Colette Mann's boyfriend.
Oh yes, he was. That's right. Yes.
Membership intact. Thank you very much. Yes, so he. And it was funny because that was Australian TV in those days. I mean, like pretty much every woman who was in 9 had been in Prisoner as well, of course.
That's right.
Maria,
Caroline Gilmer,
Gerda. We all sort of all the actors did the rounds. When there was a TV police show called Cop Shop, which was before Prisoner.
Yeah.
And I swear to God, they'd ring Dad, once a month, and he'd go, "Yeah, what am I playing this week?" Like, oh, you're a burglar. Yeah, good. You're a priest. All right. What am I? You're the school teacher. And he was that actor in Australia, which was great. So he did that. And then once he got Prisoner, that was the first time he had which actually meant that your career changes when that happens because you're not the jobbing actor who can just go from job to job to job. You're like, it's like, it's like a Lisa McCune or and then. But then after that, he did Neighbours, of course. He did. Right. He was Kylie's boss.
Yeah.
And I think that was a couple of years as well.
Yeah. But in Prisoner, he was loved. People loved him in Prisoner.
He was the sweetest, cutest man.
Yes, 100%. Just funny and goofy and.
He's just like little. Him and Joy got married. And
Joy Westmore, yes.
Yeah, and it was just,
Yeah.
And it was not, I think it was nice because, there were a few male regular characters. There was the prison warden.
There was a couple prison wardens. There was, what's his name?
Oh, I can't remember. Oh, my God. Now, remove the membership again. But, often those male characters were quite aggressive and masculine and, whereas the women needed to be the butchest things on that
100%.
On that screen.
Yeah.
And Dad did not threaten that in one way or another, which was very good.
And you guys were in the same episode, but not in the same
one
scene.
Episode. Yeah, when I came to visit, I can't even remember. Yeah, I came to, because after we did the, heroin addict scenes, I came to visit her. I don't even remember what the storyline was.
Was it in the garden? Was it outside?
It was outside, but... Yeah, because
Who played your brother?
Alan, someone.
Wasn't that his name in the show, Alan?
No, that was his name in the show.
Yeah, I can't.
Sorry.
I do, yeah.
We shall look up the facts later.
That's right.
I went to visit her to tell her something. I can't remember what it was. And then the next time I was on it was her funeral. When we had her funeral. Which was weird because we didn't have any lines. We were just in the background.
It was very weird. You'd think.
Yeah. Maybe they couldn't afford me by then.
Had you worked with your father on anything else? Like, had you actually worked with him in productions or any shows?
After Annie, we used to sing at old people's homes together. After Annie, I did a few cabaret things that he was in, on the bill, but not really. Not sort of solidly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, in 2013, you played a nurse on Neighbours.
I was the head nurse, Carol Crane.
What was that like?
That was funny because it was. I basically did the same things 2 years in a row. So I did it in December that year, and then the following December, and it was with the same character, which was Georgia, I think her name was. Anyway, and she. So the first one was that there was a mining magnate who looked remarkably like someone we know, came, and it was all hush-hush, and it got leaked to the press. And I had to reprimand Georgia.
Right.
Because we thought she'd leaked it, whereas actually it was someone trying to get her in trouble. And the end of the episode was me saying, I appreciate that, Georgia, but I'm afraid I have no choice but to suspend you until further notice. Cut. Marvellous. And then the next year, I basically did the same thing. She'd been found to have drugs in her purse. And she said, they're not mine. And we were rehearsing, and I said, I appreciate that, Georgia, but I'm afraid I have no choice but to suspend you until further notice.
And was that scripted, or did you?
It was some Brit. And the girl, I think it was Saskia, who played Georgia. She was like, "Didn't you say that last time?" I said, "Yes, but once you get to a certain age, you're only given one line of dialogue, and you can just repeat it over and over and over again." So that was, they were my two, end of episode head nurse.
Were they shot in the same studios as Prisoner or not?
Yeah.
They were? Yeah, wow.
Yeah, the old Channel 10 in Nunawading, or as my British friend used to call it, Noonawading. Yes, that was weird. Those big old... Yeah, I mean, the real shame of it is, with Neighbours being cancelled again, is in Victoria we have no regular TV show that's being shot in Victoria, which is
And
terrible.
you used to have all these shows like Cop Shop, Prisoner, even Blue Heelers, All Saints, and people could come in as a guest row and they needed guest actors. But now...
And also, the great thing about Neighbours as well was... Because one of my dearest friends is Lucinda Cowden.
That was my next question.
Oh, was it?
Yes, you're one of your close friends. Go
so
on.
Luce has obviously been back in it as Melanie. And as Luce says, it's training for young people. They have training schemes for, floor managers and camera people and lighting and costume and makeup and, that lovely space where people can, hone their craft.
That's right.
That we lose that. That's a real shame. Script writers,
There's so much work that's behind the scenes people don't realise.
Yeah, and people, it's just a shame that bless you.
Trying to be incognito.
No, I'm not letting you get that way. That was funny the other night. When was it? The other night. We're all, in the show, we're all sort of standing there like this.
Yeah.
In the Sister Act. Rhonda was like, and you just can't. It's like you just can't mask it. Anyway, sorry, Lucinda Cowden, go.
I was going to say, you had a very close friendship with Lucinda Cowden.
I did. So when I was in London, Lucy Skilbeck, who is a magnificent director, she actually now runs the acting course at RADA. She decided to put together a little company and do Australian plays in London. So the very first one was me, Luce, Nicola Quilter, who I think was in Neighbours, Adam Garcia, and we did that at the King's Head, a play called, I think it was Blue Murder, and Luce and I met each other, and it was like when I met Emma Powell, it was just like, we both have the most disgusting, ridiculous senses of humour, slightly wrong. And then we did a few more play readings together at Australia House, and then we decided that we were both terribly funny, and so we started doing stand-up comedy.
Yes.
And neither of us had done it before, so it was quite nice, being the two of us, and we did pretty well. We had a residency at a club in Soho on a drag night. We were the hosts, and we wrote a sitcom that got quite far through for the BBC New Writers Awards and things. But I kept sort of going back to musical theatre because I had to earn a living.
That's right.
And then I moved back here, and then a few years later she moved back here, and I was on the phone to her not 24 hours ago.
Oh, wow. Yeah, there you go. What's been the highlight of your career out of all your stuff you've done?
That's such a good question, and I have no idea. Doing Hey Mr. Producer was pretty amazing because it was the celebration of the musicals of Cameron Mackintosh. Everyone in the ensemble, there were 60 people in the ensemble, everyone had played lead roles. There was like 6 Grisabellas. There was like, Josie Walker was in my dear friend Josie, who is good friends with Luce. She was Mrs. Wormwood in the original production of Matilda. She was the lead in The Beautiful Game. She was, have you heard of Everybody's Talking About Jamie?
Yes.
I don't know if you've seen the footage of that.
I don't think I have.
You need to watch it. She's like plays the mother in that. She's ridiculous. What was my point? Oh no, I've lost my point.
Highlight of your career.
Thank you. Hamish Producer. So Hamish Producer was Elaine Page, Bernadette Peters, Julie Andrews, Michael Ball. Like it was everybody that Julie Mackenzie. It was for the Queen. We were all in, I think the ensemble we did we were in the booth for Cats. We did Miss Saigon. We did My Fair Lady. We did Les Mis. We did, we were in so many numbers,
wow,
which was amazing. But it was funny, Ruthie Henshaw, who played Fontaine in Royal Albert Hall 10th anniversary concert, which was probably a highlight because you're at the Royal Albert Hall with 5,000 people and the Royal Philharmonic behind you, 200 people who'd been in Les Mis in the choir, and then there was like 40 of us in the ensemble. That was good. But Hamish, the producer, was like, it was just one of those things where it was all the, like, I used to be in my bedroom listening to Elaine Page Evita when I was 15, you know. But Ruthie said it was funny because it was at the Lyceum where I did Superstar, so I knew the theatre really well. Yeah. And at one point I was going up to the green room in the, you know, you got the big lift because obviously they put the sets and stuff in there. And so the big lift comes up and Ruthie was outside the lift and the doors opened and there was Julie Andrews talking to Bernadette Peters while Elaine Page chatting to Julia Mackenzie, Stephen Sondheim, and there was Angela Webb, you know, like there was all these, and Ruthie said the lift doors opened and I went, like I couldn't cope. It's too much stardom. It's like, but yeah, I mean, I was standing in the wings watching Stephen Sondheim, watching The Three Girls Do Gotta Get a Gimmick from Gypsy, which is one of my favourite musicals that he wrote the lyrics for, and it's Stephen Sondheim. And I'm standing watching him and, you know, that was really great.
Yeah.
That was really great.
Quite
and it was everybody I knew, everybody in the West End was in it. So it was like we had the most crazy time. It was good.
In 2023, you did Kinky Boots.
Kinky Boots.
What was that like?
I loved Kinky Boots.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was directed by my darling friend Martin Croft, who I lived with when I first moved to London because he was in Miss Saigon. And yeah, it was a small production at Chapel Off Chapel, which is you've been to Chapel Off Chapel in Melbourne. Great cast, really fun, and you know, camp is a row of tits, really, just so fun. And like one of my favourite lines ever, which he's one of the lines I think, and actually Emma played the role I played in the Australian production.
Yeah.
What's the line? She says, "Sex isn't supposed to be comfortable," and I just would look to the audience. I go, "Oh, good. I thought it was just me," and people would just roar. But yeah, no, I loved that. I really loved that show. It was fun, and you know, I don't know how we fitted that set into that. I don't know how they fitted the set into. You saw it, didn't you?
No, I saw you in Miss Prime Minister at Chapel Off Chapel.
That's right. No, that was fun too.
Which, talking Miss Prime Minister, I thought it was brilliant. You had yourself,
great,
Jane Clifton and
Chelsea Plumley.
Yes. What was that like?
That was great. Yeah, no, that was really good. And that was directed by Terence O'Connell, who directed me in Dame Yankees 10 years before. And, you know, it's always great doing new work. Terence wrote the book and the lyrics. The music was written by John Thorne, who's my partner. And, yeah, it's great doing new work. And I think there's still thoughts of, you know, doing more with it because that was sort of the first outing. I think the three girls need a song. But yeah, I'm glad you enjoyed it.
It was great.
Yeah, I thought it was really, really, really interesting and really fun. Yeah, that was a ball.
Yeah. Now, at the end of each episode, I ask a guest to ask a question for the next guest.
I thought you were going to say at the end of each episode, I asked the guest for some cash. No, I'm just...
Should be the other way around.
Yeah, no. True. You asked, so do I get to know who the next guest is, or is it just
I don't know
a
who
question?
the next guest is.
Oh.
But before we do that, our last guest, Emma Powell.
Oh, no. What did she ask?
She said...
She knew it was me, though.
Is it jam on cream or cream on jam on scones?
It's cream on jam.
Ooh. No.
You put the jam down first and then you put the cream on.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Yeah, so, no, it's cream on jam. It can't be jam on cream.
You put the jam first and then cream on top.
Yeah, so the cream is on the jam.
Yeah, that's right.
Jam, yeah. Oh.
We were on the same page. That's good.
Yes.
Because some people say that people put cream first.
No,
you put jam first.
You put jam? You can't put cream first because the jam, what's the jam going to, well, you just, no.
That's right. We're all on the same page then.
That's the spawn of the devil. That's fight and talk.
Oh, good. What about pineapple on pizza? I asked
No.
Oh, good. We're on the same page.
No,
Emma's yes. Emma likes pineapple on pizza.
No, I know. That's almost the end of our friendship. Question for the next person.
And it can be absolutely anything. And I actually don't know who it could be.
Okay. Can you, all right, ask them if they can say, Cynthia, the sympathetic, sympathising synthesizer.
Fabulous. I'm going to have to try and say that to them as well.
Cynthia.
The sympathetic.
Sympathising.
Synthesizer.
I'm such an ass. Sorry.
I can just play a video. Say, this is Sally's question for you.
Cynthia, the sympathising synthesizer. No, I can't do it.
I love it. I love it. Now, the final question I have for you is there anyone you think would be good on Let's Chat Showbiz? It can be anyone, just out of curiosity.
Yeah, someone from Showbiz, probably.
That might be a good start.
You know, hey,
might just be a little...
Or someone who can chat. Oh, gosh. I mean, Lucinda Cowden would be great.
Yeah.
She is a very good talker. I don't know. I guess is it who's going to be in town? I guess for you,
it is. But
yeah,
down the track, who knows who's going to come to town?
Yeah. But. Well, I don't know if she's coming with it, but Alana Tranter, who's a very good friend of Emma's, who's playing the wardrobe in Beauty and the Beast.
Oh yes, okay.
I used to teach Alana years and years ago. She's a fabulous human.
Yeah, right.
So fantastic. I'm going to say her.
Yeah,
just because I know she's coming to town.
Yeah,
but I don't know if she's touring with the show, but if she's not, then.
But she's still there though. No, she's still there.
She's great. Yeah. She's great. But I would say, Lucinda. Yeah. Get her over.
Yeah, amazing. Well, thanks for your time, Sally. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Thanks for tuning in. If you want more episodes of Let's Chat Showbiz, you can follow along on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, Instagram, TikTok, and even Facebook for all you oldies. See you next time on Let's Chat Showbiz.